Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rams House Podcast. Today, we're knocking out episode 14, and we're going to be talking about the absolutely brutal beatdown we just took from the Philadelphia Eagles. Your host, Ethan, here, joined by my co-host, Will and Joe. What's going on, gentlemen?
What's
What's
up,
up,
boys?
boys? Very somber day.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, it sucks, and it sucks, but it wasn't surprising. I mean,
Yeah.
this is kind of who I've been saying we were all season long. Is like, and a lot of people, to be honest, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, are the Rams good or bad? We can't tell. They're kind of just a mid team." And then what mid teams do is they get spanked by the playoff contender teams. So, yeah, it was quite a bit more humiliating than I would have hoped, especially for the defense. I mean, really, both sides though. The offense was pretty inept too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree though that it was even more so the defense. Like you're right,
Yeah.
both sides. But I mean, obviously we're gonna get into offense and defense. But the defense, man, that's the biggest disappointment for me. But
we're definitely gonna get into it more. Let me say this one thing before we get in, and we can expound upon it. But I'm really disappointed with Chris Shula, and
right, me too.
I am almost out on Chris Shula as like a potential really good defensive coordinator. And I'll expand upon that when we have our defensive takeaways. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah, let's just get into it because I have a lot to say and I don't want to take too long in this portion of it. We're talking about the Rams versus Eagles recap. What does this mean for us? I mean, it means we're not the kind of team, coaching or talent wise, right now that can contend with the big boys of the NFC or the NFL. This wasn't one of those losses where you're like, if we just had played better, we could beat them. No, we're not.
Right.
We play them 10 times, we're going to lose 10 times. That's the reality.
Yeah, like 3 quarters into the game, I could have been like, if Kyron didn't fumble and a couple things changed, but they really pulled away from us, and that's what they kind of have been doing all year. Even if you watch their game last week against Washington, it was like close for 3 quarters, and I think they were saying it on the broadcast, like Philly really like wears you down throughout the game, and by the end of the game, it was like, no, they're just much better than us.
Yeah.
It's I think it's hard, and it takes an insane amount of copium and homerism to say anything otherwise. I mean, we got demolished handily.
Yeah.
Even the most copium filled and homeristic fans by halftime were really like, oh, this isn't looking like it's gonna go well.
You know what? You know what it reminded me of? It sort of reminded me of those old 49er matchups to where in the beginning of the game, you could see we were in it a little bit. And then, like Will just said, they wear you down. As the game went on, I could see that the Eagles were just starting to pound us and pound us and pound us. And then they just got more physical, and we just laid down. I remember it was like late third, early fourth. The whole Saquon was running through was crazy. They were just throwing our guys around, moved them out the way.
Yep.
And Saquon was running through every canyon, like Grand Canyon type of hole, man. It was just, it was bad.
So it gets amplified in a game like this, which I think is really important, is this whole idea of like your weaknesses, because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the playoffs, right? Why are the playoffs so different from the regular season? Because your weaknesses and your strengths get amplified against teams that have more pronounced weaknesses and strengths, and also against good coaching, right? And the Eagles coaching isn't like incredible, but it's good enough to make you look bad. And we've been saying for a long time, for example, the D line looks good except for our nose tackle position. Well, the nose tackle position was abused. Bobby Brown was being tossed around, single blocked all game long. And we've been talking about how this is a problem. So what ended up happening was Bobby Brown was literally removed from the game, like he didn't even exist, by one single blocker. And Kobe and Fisk were getting double teamed a lot. And to their credit, Kobe and Fisk, well, mostly Fisk. I barely saw Kobe. It's probably Kobe's worst game of the season. But Fisk was breaking through some double teams. But the fact that they have to be double teamed so often is due to the fact that we have such a weak nose tackle who does not require a double team to get beat. And so even though our D-line is really good and is really promising, that one weak link totally dismantled us, and we were mostly ineffective on the D-line, where we've been great every other game this season. And I could say the same thing about the second level, the linebacking crew, because Roseboom was so in it was so Roseboom just gets washed out by receivers. Like in the run game, he's so bad. A tight end, a receiver, Roseboom disappears. Like, I mean, he was getting pancaked by receivers yesterday. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're talking about Saquon going off for 1 billion yards. This is one of the reasons why, is because the when you single block Bobby Brown, then you take a guard and you block Space. And to Space's credit, like, who's gonna what linebacker in the NFL is gonna shut a block against the Eagles guards? They're great, right? So is the center, for that matter. And so you got Roseman getting washed out by tight ends. Spates is taking on guards and centers, and then it's over because Roseboom is so weak at his position. It put a lot of extra pressure on Spates, and Spates vanished this game. He was a non-factor. And so
yeah, he didn't have a good game.
These weak spots, this is kind of what I've been talking about all season. These weak spots are much more prominent against really good teams. And I'll say this, Shula was also hugely problematic in this, because even when Roseman was off the field and he had, for whatever reason, Michael Hoyt playing inside linebacker, Hoyt was like lined up nowhere in the middle. Like, there was one big play that we were talking about that was posted on Twitter, and Spates got washed out by a guard, and Hoyt was the second inside linebacker, and he was lined up outside of Jared Verse, and they ran a counter to the exact spot where that second inside linebacker should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Spates actually filled the gap and opened up a hole. If there was a second inside linebacker, they could have shot through and hit Saquon. Now, whether they would have tackled him or not is a different story, but Shula put the team in a position to get embarrassed. And that was happening all night, and it's actually been happening all season. It's easy to, like, there's an occasional blitz where you're like, oh, dang, Shula, that was a great call. But there's way more calls where you're like, Shula, what the hell are you doing? Why are you calling that in a situation? It doesn't make any sense. And that's what it boils down to, right? Is like, we talk about coordinators and play callers. You're like, that's what, there's a lot of plays that, okay, that was an understandable play call. But then you talk about the extremes, like, that was a great play call. That was a game-changing play call. And that was literally brain-dead play call. And I think if we compare those, Shula has way more brain-dead play calls than he has good play calls this season. And I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you said to me during the week, you were basically like, offline, you said this is, a real test for Shula. Because we had been, debating, we play really well against teams like the Raiders and offenses like the Seahawks, who are, not very good offenses. And the defense is trending the right direction. But as you said, this is the real test. And obviously failed that test. And like, my big picture takeaway for both the defense and the offense, and you guys may disagree, but what frustrates me about this team is I think we are a pretty dang talented team on both sides of the ball. Like, you look at Stafford, you look at Puka, Cooper, the O-line, and then you look at the defense, we have, star rookies, we have a couple good pieces in the secondary. I think we're talented on both sides of the ball, but it's just not clicking on either side of the ball consistently. And it's like, we've been doing this thing all year where, like, one side of the ball will show flashes for like a quarter or a half or even a game, but then the other side of the ball doesn't show up, and it's just never consistent, and it's frustrating because I to your point about Shula, like, I put a lot of it on the coaching on Shula and McVay, and even in this game again on offense, like, there were drives where we come out with the quick passing game, working great,
like early in the
smart,
first drive or two,
yeah, and then the offense disappears for like a quarter and a half, and then comes back to like what was working in the first quarter, and it's like, well, why did you go away from that for a quarter and a half?
Yep.
Blake Corum not getting touches when Kyron Williams is fumbling, like, I don't. Anyway, so it all comes down. What I'm saying is, it's frustrating that I think this team could have a much higher ceiling if the coaching was better, if the personnel decisions were better, and that's what's frustrating for me.
Yeah. I want to kind of expand on the point Ethan made earlier when he was talking about Hoyt being out of position. And like, well, you're right, that's coaching. And
Yeah.
I get it. The Eagles' offense is super talented. They have a crazy good O line. Saquon Barkley he's damn near in the MVP race. He's playing so amazing. Jalen Hurts, he's not a great thrower of the ball, but he's a great runner, and he knows where to go. He's physical, so I get that. But it's I sort of like to compare it to the Chiefs, what Steve Spagnuolo does. He doesn't have crazy talent, other than Jones and some players here and there. But what he does is he puts everybody in correct positions and he schemes it perfect all the time. And I
Yeah.
don't want to. Steve is like an all-time. great defensive coordinator. He's
Yeah.
building up to that. So I don't want to put that on Shula. But when you play a team like the Eagles with a great offense like that, as a defensive coordinator, your job is to, okay, in order for to make these guys play above their heads, I need to make sure that they're all playing in the right positions. They're playing how playing to best suitable to their their play styles, and I'm putting them and I'm scheming the game perfectly.
And
And
you're not
Shula
like
just didn't do that.
you're not scheming holes for the offense to take advantage of. You know that because we
Hmm.
did that a lot, like in the play I was just referring to, and yeah, I think I mentioned it during last week's podcast. It was either during the recorded part or during the part we had to discard because the audio was messed up about the whole thing with this was a true test for Shula because there was an opportunity to not try to get cute and to just be like, hey, we have to stop Saquon, we have to stop AJ Brown.
Exactly.
If
Yep.
other people beat us, so be it. But there was a
Right.
with Devontae Smith out, there was a
Yeah, that was a
clear,
gift. That was a
Hmm.
gift,
and
man.
we didn't do that at all. I saw AJ Brown being
Yeah.
covered by Michael Hoyt. I saw AJ Brown being covered by Quentin Lake. I saw AJ Brown being covered one on one against Cam Kinchins. I saw AJ Brown being covered by Kelly Bushman. I saw AJ Brown
Yeah.
being single covered by a bunch of guys, and it's utterly
Yeah.
unacceptable. And the different,
Safeties and
Unacceptable,
linebackers.
bro, it's like has Shula never seen Saquon Barkley play football? He kept opening up the middle of the field. They have the best guard
Hmm.
combo in the NFL, for goodness sake. We kept opening up the inside like we were expecting Saquon wasn't going to have success there. We routinely had only one inside linebacker back there with no safety in the box, or we had two inside linebackers in there playing in out of position. I mean, and to be fair, Kellen Moore is a decent coordinator. Like he's
Yeah,
not a
for
bad
sure.
coordinator, but Kellen Moore absolutely outcoached and outsmarted Shula yesterday. It's not even a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we rant too
And,
much,
like,
go ahead.
but like outsmarted, but it's like we were just to your first point, we just had a bad plan.
Yes,
So yeah, you're right, but bro, the game plan was horrible on our end. And
Bro,
like I just want to
oh, go
emphasize
ahead.
the fact
yeah,
that
I agree.
Devonta Smith being out is such a gift because now you can help D Will on AJ Brown, and who's gonna make you pay? Jahan Dotson?
It's actually their
Like
weakness is
like
that the wide
they
receiver
have
depth
nobody
is their biggest weakness on the whole team.
right. They have nobody else that can make you pay. Like it's
Exactly,
the
bro.
game plan made no sense to me, man.
D.
I
Will was on an island. He was on an island for most of the game. Just him and
But
AJ
but
Brown.
he
And
wasn't
well
like
he
everyone covered AJ Brown at some point. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
I would have actually liked to see D Will on AJ Brown more.
I agree.
yeah,
Like it
But he
was
still should have
man,
been bracketed full time by a
I,
safety.
I,
yeah, get
me,
some help. Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted double teams. I wanted bracketed. I
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
all
yeah.
of that constantly, all the time.
I wanted
Yeah.
some gap discipline, and instead we decided we were going to take our inside linebackers and move them to the outside and give the inside wide. Honestly, I think I'm not positive of this, but I think if we rewatched, we would see Saquon's biggest plays were all through the inside. Like he tore the inside up. They abused Bobby Brown and they washed out the one or two inside linebackers, and it was over.
Two something.
We don't have the speed to be playing this. So what I'm saying, yeah, your point is correct that the game plan was awful, right? That was the biggest problem that we actually had. But what I'm saying that Kellen Moore outsmarted him was that he was seeing what was being given by the defense and he just took it
For
every
sure.
play. And
No, yeah, both things are true.
every single play he was giving, I mean, how many pass attempts were actually, you know what? I'm pulling it up because I want to say AJ Brown was just targeted like crazy, bro. 7 targets to AJ Brown, 4 to Saquon. So you're talking about 11 of the 19 targets were to the two superstars. That crap is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. The fact that they were able to be targeted more than half the actual targets that were thrown, and they only missed one, so they caught 10 out of 11. Like that's insane. So instead of allowing Dallas Goddard, Jahan Dotson, Grant Calcaterra, and Johnny
Yeah,
Wilson to beat you, you literally asked for AJ Brown and Saquon to beat you, and they
yeah,
obliged, and they beat you
right.
severely. And so the game plan was horrible. Kellen Moore took advantage of everything that we gave them, and we gave them a lot. And there was no adjustments on defense whatsoever. I saw the same bullcrap in the fourth quarter that I saw in the first 3 quarters. Like it's
Yeah.
just utterly unacceptable. Let's go ahead and dive in before we go too crazy in here into offensive takeaways because we could literally just talk about the game forever. But let's just
Yeah.
focus in on one side of the ball. First thing that we have to talk about, I would literally be okay with cutting Kyron Williams today.
Me too.
You
I'm
know what?
you know what's crazy is we've been having these talks and debates, and this isn't Joe, but it's could, you know, because he previously was, out of us three, the biggest Kyron guy. This is actually to other people. This is to other people because um we did film analysis of Kyron, and we almost unanimously predicted a big fall off year from him, and a lot of it was based on watching the film and seeing stuff in his process of the way he plays that we thought was going to be problematic in the future. And fumbles was one of those things. And actually, Joe was on that train. Joe, when we watched like hours of Kyron film together, and Joe pointed out that Kyron doesn't properly cover up the football, and that fumbling could be a problem in the future if he doesn't get it cleaned up. Joe was actually the first one, I think, that pointed that out in our we did a lot of. Now Joe was probably higher on Kyron than the rest of us, but he did see the fumbling issue. He saw the fumbling issue, and he goes, yeah, when he's going into contact, he either covers up with one hand, or when he uses two, you can tell that he's not doing it in the right way. And so then we caught on to what Joe was saying, and you noticed it over and over again. Kyron doesn't protect the football, so we're not surprised at all. None of us are in the Discord or on this podcast that Kyron's fumbling like crazy. He has terrible fundamentals when it comes to covering up the football. The crazy thing is, we know he loves to initiate contact. He loves it. But he doesn't love to protect the football. Yeah, he too much.
He likes to run into his linemen and into defenders.
But he doesn't like to cover up the ball when he does that. Like that's initiating contact 101, is making sure the football's protected. And so the whole thing is just asinine. He's bottom 10 in yards per touch as it is. Like Kyron touching. I'm getting so flustered. I'm so pissed off. Kyron touching the ball is one of the least productive plays in all of the NFL on offense. That's just a fact. That's not even including the fumbles. But now he leads the NFL in fumbles among running backs. What are we doing? And on that note, we have to absolutely bash Sean McVay for the fact that Kyron is still playing 90% plus of the snaps. And even after Kyron fumbles twice in one game, Blake Corum can't see another snap for the rest of the game. That crap is unacceptable. And I wanted to remind people of a quote when Aaron Donald was asked why Sean McVay is such a great coach, and he mentioned the high standards that Sean brings into the building and the accountability. Well, where are the high standards and where is the accountability? Because we're seeing Bobby Brown look like he's in a prison shower every freaking game, getting single covered and demolished. We're seeing Kyron Williams get just not hitting holes, bad vision, not enough speed, like just playing awful running back, fumbling the ball repeatedly, not getting taken out of games. Christian Roseboom, at this point, I mean,
Reader before he got hurt.
The injury was the only. I guarantee you, Reader's still playing 100% snaps if he's not injured right now, because he was the green dot.
Probably,
Quentin Lake. I mean, I don't even like McCullough, but I'll take McCullough over what Quentin Lake is giving us right now. Akilla Witherspoon. So the only people that we have accountability for are people like Trey White, who had high ceilings. Like Roseboom is hitting his ceiling right now. You know, Kyron hit his ceiling last year. Like Trey White is an all-pro level cornerback, and it's just asinine to me. The personnel decisions have been horrific, and I do have a genuine fear because our culture is built around these high standards and this accountability, and I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, to your point about the Kyron fumbling issue too, it's like the way he fumbles, it's not even like great plays by the defense. It's just he just like gives it up way too easily.
The second fumble was a solid knockout, but the other 4 fumbles this season were weak sauce, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it was a solid punch out, but he's still like you guys said, he's just not holding it like secure. He's just not holding the ball securely, and you know, obviously there's no good time to fumble, but Kyron almost has like a funny way of like he will fumble in the worst possible moments. Again, there's never a good time to fumble, but like the timing of it is almost comical. It's like every time you can feel this like tension in the game building, like we really have some momentum here. And then it's like clockwork, he'll fumble. And I don't know if this would have changed anything, but I almost wish we lost the second fumble since we got blown out in that game anyway. I wish the Eagles got that recovery, and then maybe Sean would have been like, all right, 2 giveaways in one game. Like
because that would have been 5 fumbles and 4 lost for the season.
Yeah. I mean, look,
you should never count on that. You should never count on the luck of you recovering. Fumbling the ball is fumbling the ball. Even if you don't lose the ball,
sure,
it's still a really bad trait, and you will lose the ball in the future.
I totally agree, and there's been a couple like that this season. Like one of them, Cooper Kupp just happened to be, in the perfect spot and recovered another one. But
Because my boy Cup's got that IQ, bro.
yeah. But so we just like last thing on Kyren too is like we talked about how one of the big problems with this offense is the early down efficiency. And if you noticed in that game, like I think Kyren had like one good run in that game. But other than that, like every time we tried to go like Kyren first and second down, it always put us in bad spots. Like we would get nothing, and then it's like 3rd and 9, and the drive is already over. Because once that pass rush is able to tee off on a 3rd and 9, like it just our run game in that game when it was successful basically became like the quick passing game. Like the quick passing game like was our run. Like we had to defer to that on first and second down to have any sort of success because we can't run the ball. And our run blocking, this has been well documented throughout our whole pod's existence. Our run blocking is pretty good.
Actually, let's talk about
that. Depending on the week, if not very good. So look, I know we've been beating this dead horse, but like it's important and it's true. Like Kyren is just a problem for this team right now. And earlier in the year, I think a lot of you, I mean, we even got pushback in the comments like, oh, no, like, why are you bashing Kyren? But like, man, at this point, like, I hope, I mean, it's getting.
There's still Kyren truthers out there, to be honest. But
I'm sure there are a couple, but I hope they're starting to dwindle now because this is just crazy.
You can't see it because it's kind of cut off, but it is the vertical axis is win rate from ESPN and the horizontal axis is PFF grade. Our run blocking is actually top 10 in both now. And that's even with the injuries. Our run blocking is top 10 in both of those different statistical categories. And really, these are the only two that grade offensive line blocking. So the only set of data we have shows the Rams run blocking is top 10 in both of those. So there's no excuses. He hasn't. Now, Kyren had 2 good runs in the game, the 27-yarder, and I think he had a 12-yarder. And that was literally most of his yards. The 27-yarder, he didn't get touched for 15 yards, and then he literally just ran over a guy for another 5, 6, 7 yards. And the other one was the same thing. He got 9 yards untouched and got tackled, in the next couple of yards.
And the 27-yarder, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the same drive he fumbled, right?
Didn't he fumble? Yes. And that's the crazy thing
is, of the game.
All 3 of us basically agreed unanimously. One of the most important things besides stopping Saquon and AJ Brown is getting off to a fast start on offense. Yep. We don't want to fall behind, and we were actually going to get ahead.
Yeah.
And then fumbled in. I know it wasn't the red zone, I don't think, but it was close.
It was the red zone, bro. It was the red zone.
Oh, it was the 17th. I knew it was close. I knew it was close. Yeah. So it was the 17th. So
that is a very
the 27-yard play. Oh, I'm an idiot. Here you go. So the Philadelphia 17. It was actually the play before he got the 27 yards.
Yeah.
And dude, not only that, but Matthew Stafford risks his life on a 15-yard scramble, which took like an hour for him to run 15 yards. And he could have gotten decapitated on that play because he's so slow. But so he risked his life just to have Kyren fumble 2 plays later. That crap is crazy, dude. It's just crazy.
I want to add to that because that's such an important point when we talked about last episode starting fast. Because some people would say, oh, well, we lost 37-20, so it doesn't really matter. No, because if you score on that drive, it becomes the way the game was going, we could have been up 14-3. That changes the game flow so much. That makes it so that they can't run the ball like they want to. They have to throw it a little bit more. That lets our pass rush tee off. That changes the momentum, like Ethan just said.
So for people are talking about
everything.
Real quick is we should have scored that drive, and then the next drive was a touchdown for us.
Right.
So we would have been up 14-3. Guess who doesn't get to touch the ball as much down 14-3? A guy by the name of Saquon Barkley. Like
exactly
huge. And I know they would still give him the ball. Obviously, it's just the first half, but there's no question that his touches would get reduced in that scenario. It's just the way football works. Man. Yes, it does.
It's such a massive like it can't even be overstated. Like that fumble, like that was just a killer. It's a killer.
And to talk about I know I was a big Kyren guy, way more than you guys at the beginning, and I sort of got off the bandwagon a while ago. But a couple points I want to make, and I've been reiterating it every week, is the mistakes he makes on a week-to-week basis. He's not good enough to keep making those mistakes. Like I say all the time, like if Saquon fumbles twice in a game, but then okay, Saquon's gonna give me 150 yards. He's gonna give me 140 yards, a touchdown. It's bad, but I could live with that. Kyren recently it's been his cap has been 80 yards, and all his runs are uninspiring. He's not doing what he needs to do. He's
By
not
the
getting the
way,
holes, and then he's
that's
fumbling at the same time.
that's 80 scrimmage yards, not rushing yards. He
Yeah, yeah. It's
he's
just bad,
non-existent
and
in the pass game.
he's just bad. And I'm gonna talk about Sean McVay later because I'm gonna harp on him. But Kyron being able to be in a position to keep starting these games, I'm gonna reiterate it every pod until it happens. He needs to be benched. He does not
Yeah.
need to start these. I'm cool with him being RB2 coming in here and there, but he needs to be benched. Blake Combs
Yeah.
should be starting on this team because Kyron he's hurting us way more than he's helping us now, and
Yeah.
that's an awful sign, bro.
Or at least do like a 50-50 split and start to see how it
Yeah,
goes with more quorum. And also,
yeah.
just real quick, like Kyron Williams' pass protection wasn't good in that game either.
No, it wasn't
No,
at all.
he got blown up. I
He
think
was getting,
by Neil or something. He got smoked by Neil, and
yeah,
it was and I think Matthew Stafford got sacked because of it. I think, or was it a bad throw? I can't remember all the way, but it was something bad. His blocking hasn't been up to par. His running hasn't been up to par.
No, he's not
He's
done
having a
nothing
bad
well.
season, bro.
Here, let
And,
me show this real quick, just to add
yeah,
into that. This is his
oh,
ranks
yeah. I
among.
remember I posted this.
Yeah, 2 point. I mean, after contact, one of the worst in the NFL. The missed tackles forced. Now, I think that's a really misleading stat because I don't know of a running back in the NFL that more arm tackles are made against than Kyron Williams. I
yeah,
think you
that's
guys
so
get
true. He
because
gets like people just touch his leg and
and
he'll like
that's
fall
a
over.
quote unquote missed forced tackle. And then yards per carry obviously is 24th, but actually his scrimmage yards are actually worse. And I'm going to show that in a second. 15 runs of 10 or more is 16th, but even that we know for a fact that at least half of those runs Kyron has gotten over 10 yards before he ever got touched by a defender. That was 90% run blocking. And obviously the breakaway percentage is really poor as well. But yeah, it's bad. And I'm going to try to find this, the ranking.
Yeah, and while you're doing that,
Yeah, go ahead.
you know his stats could trick you, right? Because right now he's at 822, 9 touchdowns. But I promise you, all the people out there that don't watch Kyron on a daily basis, it's sad to say it, but it's fake, bro. What
Yeah.
he's doing statistical wise is fake, bro. It's not like at the end of the year if he ends up with 1,200 double-digit touchdowns, bro. It's not what you think it is. I promise you, it's not.
All right,
Yep.
so I remember now where I want to go to show this stuff. So because I think it's important we reiterate how trash Kyron Williams is because we absolutely have to move on. I'm not even being funny. I'm being serious. Like
No, 100%.
it
I couldn't agree more.
part of the podcast is the education of the fan base. Part of it's just for our entertainment. But like, let's talk about it, right? So I want to show you guys this real quick. This is Kyron's player profiler stat page, and there's a lot of good data on here. But the stuff I want to focus on is yards per touch right here. You guys see yards per touch? 4.1 yards per touch, which is 45th in the NFL.
Wow.
Jesus
He's
Christ.
worse than most
He's
backups,
bro.
okay? And then you're talking about the next thing is the stacked front carry rate right here. 6.3%. He's only seen a stacked front 6.3% of the time, which is 39th in the NFL. So you're talking about we're a top 10 run blocking offense. He never sees a stacked rate, a stacked box, and he still sucks. Like
That's so
it does
telling.
not
The
get
fact that he never
easier than
sees a
this.
stacked box. That's like, forget what we think. The NFL defenses are telling you he's not good. Like any fan can say whatever they want. Defensive coordinators who get paid, who have families, kids to feed, when their job is on the line, they say Kyron Williams will let you run on a light
And by the
box we're
way,
not worried about you.
this definitely negatively affects the passing game. Like severely negatively affects the passing game.
Because we can't run the ball effectively, bro.
100%.
That's
It affects it in just the obvious way of like, keeping defenses honest and play action, and it affects it in the sense of early down efficiency, which we talked about. Again, you're running first and second down, you're getting 1 or 2 yards, and now it's 3rd and 8 all of a sudden. Like it's a huge problem, dude.
But like we've been talking about this all season. Poor Stafford, and yeah, we can debate whether it's time to move on from Stafford or not, and we will. But Stafford is seeing 7 or 8 guys drop into coverage regularly because they have no reason to pay attention to the line of scrimmage because Kyron running isn't scary at all. So no matter what way you chop it up, Kyron is awful. He's been awful.
I think you said this during the game on Discord, but there's so many different ways, there's so many different explanations for why we lost that game. But literally the game, one way you could describe it is if we had Saquon Barkley and the Eagles had Kyron Williams, like the game is just, I think the game is literally completely flipped.
Yes.
Like that's how important. I mean, it's that was the difference in the game, actually. Like, the main difference is that they have Saquon Barkley and we have Kyron Williams.
I don't know if it would have been flipped in the score, but I think we would have won that game. And
Me too.
so, okay, that's Kyron. He's trash. The statistic, everything that you can possibly. He's not. He got run over like 3 times yesterday in pass pro. He's totally ineffective in the receiving game, like invisible. And so let's talk about the rest of the offense. Whittington. Did Whittington even get any snaps? Like, I genuinely don't think he did. I'll pull it up. You guys talk about the rest of the game. I'll pull up the snap counts for offense.
I mean,
he's doing good on special teams. I've seen that.
I mean, all I have to say while Ethan pulls it up is, as far as takeaways, is the pass protection wasn't very good, and our third down efficiency, again, it's been a problem all year. We were 0 for 8 on third down. That's really. I mean, we talked about Kyron already. Again, the pass protection. I think they had 5 sacks. We had 1 sack. I mean, we have a really talented pass rush, so you'd think it would be more even. But for me, the reason why it wasn't is because our pass protection was not good. Warren McClendon did not play well. He got his lunch 8 for most of the night. But yeah, 0 for 8 on third down. I mean, I don't know how you beat the Eagles going 0 for 8 on third down.
I think the commentators made a point where they said the first 2 drives that we were most successful, we didn't touch a third down.
We didn't have a third down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we didn't have a third down. And that just shows, because our first down and our second down efficiency has been really, really, really good.
I'm going to move us, just so you guys can see real quick. I'm going to move us down past the O-lineman and Stafford, because they got 100% of the snaps. But so this is the rest of it. Cooper, great. I'm glad his snaps are up. Puka's still tied with DeMarcus Robinson. Kyron at 91% makes me sick. But then you have Davis Allen, Colby. Actually, I thought Colby Parkinson was pretty good this game. I would have liked to have seen him get more snaps. Davis Allen.
Shout out Colby. He had a decent game.
Right?
Wait, so did Whittington not play?
All our tight ends suck. Let's just be real. Whittington did not get a snap, and Blake got 6. Tutu got 17. Hunter Long got more snaps. Like Tyler Johnson. Every person who catches footballs for the Rams got snaps, and Whittington did not.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, D-Rob just got in trouble. I know it's kind of early on. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but maybe Whittington starts to get a bigger role now, depending on what happens to D-Rob.
Yeah, I hope so. I think Vic Fangio ate McVay's lunch. I thought
for sure.
And what's crazy is just I hate it when Sean goes away with what's clearly working well.
Yeah.
The play action rollouts have been working all season long, clockwork, and yet we only do them a few times a game. Maybe 8-10 if we're lucky.
Yeah. Can they just stop it once before we go away from it?
Yeah.
Like, they never even stopped it one time. Like, a 4-yard gain on that's a win. Again, I said it earlier, that's our run game. When Kyron Williams can't get 4 yards on 1st and 10, you just dump it to Puka and he gets 3 or 4. Like, that's working for you all night. And then we just go away from it for a quarter.
And you know what's funny, bro? We talked about it in the Discord about them going away from stuff. They run the same play to DeMarcus Robinson at the goal line every time.
Yeah, and it works every time.
It works every time. So why don't you do that in other areas of the field? Keep running the same play until they stop it. I don't understand why they don't do that.
So no, go ahead.
No. I just really quick. That's the thing is, like, you're right. Vic Fangio ate McVay's lunch, but what makes it frustrating is, like, McVay showed in spurts and in drives that we have the potential to move the ball against that team. And I just felt like the game plan was so inconsistent. Like, it was there for like
you know what's crazy though? The crazy thing about that is that, like, Vic Fangio is a smart enough coach to where he realizes that, I think, and he goes,
"That's true. That's true.
You know what? I know we're going to let you beat us in the play action rollout game because I know you're only going to do it 5-6 times a game. So you know what? Yeah. You can have those. I'll defend the other crap you do 80% of the time." I really genuinely believe that was part of what occurred.
Sure.
And that's
I think that's totally
which is
true.
Just him again outsmarting Sean and taking his lunch. Now I want to point out here, Stafford had a decent game. I think it was the stats are a little bloated. I think
they're a little misleading. He had some garbage time yards.
Yeah, a lot of garbage time stats. He struggled. Kyron struggled. It was the same thing I've been saying every week. Stafford, Sean McVay, Kyron, the guys you expect to be good, we're not.
Not to cut you off, but the one thing with Stafford real fast. One thing I did notice though is that he didn't make a lot of like super silly and dumb throws.
Yeah, he
so I guess
he mitigated his risk.
I guess
He mitigated his risks, but he did have a lot of. It was like at the very least, his way off the line throws were like off the line in the direction where the other team could intercept the ball. So like
Yeah.
he was missing in a good way, but he had a lot of bad throws and a lot of he held onto the ball too much. A lot. It was not a great game. And then, but Puka and Cooper again dominating. I hated to see Tutu and DeMarcus out there for this reason, particularly them two, because every catch they had, I thought to myself, Jordan could have done that better. And I'm not even being like facetious or funny or hateful. Like Tutu caught 3 balls and I don't think he had a single yard after the catch. Every ball he caught, he went down on. And I thought to myself, Whittington probably gets some good yak on that play. And I'm just being the DeMarcus touchdown. I mean, look, it's a nice play, but there's no reason to think Whittington can't pull that play off equally as good or better. Like it's a simple, sharp out route. Whittington is good at those. We've seen it earlier in the season. But really the only winners on offense is the O-line, run blocking specifically. I thought
I don't run blocking. I was gonna say the pass protection was not good in this game.
I don't think it was bad, to be honest. I think we got
hit 5 times.
Yeah, but Stafford was holding on to the ball a lot, and
but I think their secondary is I don't know. I think
the O-line was bad, bro.
I think the pass protection was bad.
Protection.
I guess their run blocking was
bad, bro.
Yeah, I think it was bad. I mean, McClendon was an open door.
Steve Avila had a bad game finally.
Yeah, I think Bo Limmer probably had one of his worst games.
No, he was actually pretty good, I think. I don't
Kevin Dotson was really good.
Kevin Dotson dominated. Yeah, actually I have that pulled
Kevin Dotson was really good.
I think it's
I saw it on that he allowed like more pressures than usual, but anyway,
so Kevin Dotson dominated. It wasn't a good performance by the O-line of the pass blocking. I just think it was exacerbated by how long Stafford was being forced to hold the ball, whether it was him holding onto it too long or not, nobody getting open because the defense was literally eating our lunch.
And their secondary is very good. And
I think if we had let me say this: if we had run a quick passing offense all game, I don't think the O-line is a factor. I think McVay put the O-line in a really bad position to have to hold on to the ball way too long.
I totally agree with that.
And so
Chris Collinsworth said it on the broadcast. It was in like the third quarter. He was
just about to say that, Will. Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, well, Sean McVay is realizing we just don't have enough time to throw it, so we're gonna have to go to the quick pass." I'm like, "Bro, we noticed this 5 minutes."
Actually, we noticed this last week. We mentioned it during the podcast.
We noticed this before the game started. Like, how is Sean McVay gonna notice this 3 quarters in? Like, are you kidding me? That's what I'm talking about, man. Like,
it's the one thing I miss. It's from the old Rams with Jared. The one thing I miss that we don't do that much anymore. I don't know if it's a taboo thing now or something, or is it gimmicky? But we're used to get to the line super fast. And get it, snap it, throw quick. And just we need to do more because first, second down, when we go fast, we're a good team.
Yeah, I want to say Chris Collinsworth mentioned it in the first quarter about how efficient we are when we rush to the line early in the game. But yeah, so with the exception of McClendon and Alaric, I didn't really see guys getting beat quickly. I guess I want to make that point. Is the guys on the interior, specifically Avila and Limmer, were getting beat, but those were on longer developing passing plays. I want to say I remember one time where Avila got smoked, and it was a sack. And it was a really bad one, but you're talking about a top 3, top 4, maybe top 5 D line in the NFL. And so if you're calling long developing pass plays, you should expect to get QB hits, sacks, and pressures. But when the game plan was rollouts and fast passing, the O-line for the most part held up well. McClendon got abused pretty badly.
One thing I gotta say though, I can't lie though. What was pitiful to me, and shout out this guy, he's a really good player. Well, he had a really good career, let me say it. But Brandon Graham being able to do what he did,
he smoked us.
That was bad because Brandon Graham he had a great career, but he's like the end of his career. He's at the eclipse of his career. He shouldn't have did what he did.
He looked like he was 26.
Yeah, man. Right. It shouldn't have been.
I think he smoked us from both sides.
Yes,
he did.
He was going back and forth and smoking the leg, and then he was smoking McClendon. He was smoking both of them.
Yeah.
I will say that when we're talking about that, it also comes down to game planning. Why were these guys not getting? Once you realize they're getting smoked and you want to have a long developing pass play, why are these guys not getting help more often?
Yeah.
I mean, look,
put in two tight ends.
our tight ends aren't even doing anything in the receiving game.
No,
Like,
that's the issue though. Is like even if you have Hunter Long come and chip or help, I don't think he's very good as a blocker. And then you have Kyron Williams who's trying to help, and he's not very effective. So it's like,
you know what's crazy is it would probably be more useful if they chipped at even a prolonged chip and then leaked out. It would probably would have been more useful to give Stafford an unexpected out rather, you know what I'm saying, than just what we were doing with those particular positions, the receiver, the running backs, the tight ends. But yeah, mostly we were bad, and I don't want to go too hard on the O-line on any of them because there was some scheme. The scheme issues I think made it significantly worse for all of them.
Yeah, and the play calling.
Yeah. So
where were the screens, by the way? Like McVay normally loves screens, and then in a game like this where the pass rush is hitting, I feel like we didn't see a lot of screens to take advantage.
I don't think we saw any screens to be honest.
I can't remember. I can't remember a screen.
I mean, throwing a screen to Kyron is the same thing as giving the ball away. So I get that, but the receiver screens are effective.
Receiver screens, yeah, we did that against Minnesota, and that worked.
Where's the creativity though? Like there's no end arounds. There's no like interesting. Remember, even like earlier in the season, we would send Puka or Cup in an end around, and then we would throw a screen to them after we faked the end around. And there's just nothing like that. It's just a mess. It's a mess. And it's like we saw earlier, you know, Puka going in motion and then cutting between the tackle and the guard, and then doing like that play worked 3 weeks in a row, and then we just cut it out of the rotation. Like, I don't know. I just frustrated. The whole offense stunk, with the exception of Cooper Cup and Puka Nacua, who were both great, and they weren't even being put in good positions. Both of those guys made incredible catches throughout the night.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
Puka had a couple of I wouldn't call them drops as much as just a failure to reel in a difficult catch, but he needs to work on them. He needs to work on them hands. I wouldn't call it drops because it wasn't like an easy catch.
They were really hard catches, but catches that I still expect him to make.
I think that one touchdown throw, I think he should have caught that one.
That was a really good throw by Stafford, by the way.
That landed sort of on his chest. I think he should have caught that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the defensive takeaways. We've pounded the offense enough. The defense now gets some of the love.
Man, where do we start, bro?
It's a lot of places.
I think we start with Chris Shula, which we already mentioned.
Awful.
Chris Shula was horrific. I'll tell you. So, like, for me, you can feel free to disagree. I think this is pretty standard. The things that I'm looking for in a defensive coordinator, things that make me know whether the defensive coordinator is doing good, besides the scheme. Obviously, scheme is just base, right? But the things during the game is really good play calls and really bad play calls. It kind of gives you what is outweighing which. And the second thing is adjustments. If you obviously had to add a third in there, it would be scheme. Like, is your base scheme that you brought into the game, is your game plan that you came into the game with against the team you're playing effective? And the idea of consistently not having two inside linebackers was ineffective. That was idiotic. Like, we were like, hey, we need to double down on stopping Saquon. He actually went backwards and doubled down on letting Saquon have whatever he wanted through horrible scheming. So, looking at the season so far and what we've seen, I'm comfortable right now saying without major growth, Shula is a freaking lame duck defensive coordinator. He has had far more bad play calls than good play calls. You know what I'm talking about? Like, this isn't rocket. Like, play calls, we're like, holy crap, that play call was clutch. It was good. That was so smart. We know it, right? He had some blitzes that were really good.
Yeah.
But he's had far more where you're like, Shula, what in the hell are you thinking? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then schematically, like, this game was a perfect example. This was the perfect example because all we had to do was stop A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. And the game plan was literally the opposite of that. We weren't stopping them. We weren't even like doing what you would want to do against a normal receiver and a normal running back. We were giving them light coverage. Like, A.J. Brown was seeing Hoyt in coverage, Quentin Lake in coverage, Cam Curl, Cam Kinchin, Spade. Like,
Omar Bates was on him. Like, you have a linebacker.
We were seeing the whole gambit of second level defenders on covering A.J. Brown with little to no help. And then we saw what's happened with Saquon. Shula opened the door for Saquon to get 255 rushing yards. That's just a matter of fact. The game plan, the scheme, no adjustments, play calling were all horrific, and they were all lended themselves to giving Saquon that opportunity. And you just look back throughout the season, and this has been the reality of the situation more often than not. There's been some games where Shula had a great game plan. We were like, hey, that's really good. But also, we were going against bad teams with not that much talent, with not very good offensive coordinators. I mean, like, you did okay, cool. But like when you actually matters, when you're playing a good offensive mind, you're getting absolutely smoked. And as of right now, bro, I'm confident in saying I think he's a lame duck, DC. I think he's, in our opinion, Raheem 2.0, maybe worse, to be honest. Yeah. And that's a problem. That's a real problem.
Well, the problem with that too is that McVay kept Raheem. You know, it wasn't until Raheem got hired as a head coach. It's not like we let him go, obviously. So I feel like that's what worries me is I feel like McVay is just going to keep this guy around the same way he kept Raheem. But yeah, exactly like you said, like, you know, we had been kind of giving Shula some credit the last 4 or 5 games, defense playing well, but the offenses we played, you know, New England, which by the way, New England actually moved the ball well against us and they're not a good offense. But anyway, we're playing mediocre offenses. This is the real test and he got exposed. And what we talk about on this podcast a lot and what Sean McVay talks about is, you know, process over results. So look, AJ Brown is a really good player. If he beats you, I understand. But the issue I have is our plan for him was, again, he's being covered by guys like Quentin Lake, Omar Spates, you know, safeties, linebackers, where, again, we said this earlier, but Devonta Smith is out of this game. You have a chance to, you know, have D-Well on him, and then you get some help from another corner or a safety, bracket him. So if A.J. Brown beats you, but our plan makes sense, I can live with that. He's a great player. But when you're giving them gimmies and the game plan is like doesn't make sense, and it's almost like to me it's almost like Chris Shula, like he's just his mindset is like, well, we're just going to run what we're going to run, the opponent doesn't matter. Because to me it's the same game plan that we saw against like New England or even Oakland, or Las Vegas, excuse me. It's like I don't see any like team specific plan here. It's almost like we just go out and run what we run, where we had a golden opportunity to just hone in on the 2 things they do well and make like Jahan Dotson beat you, and instead we just played into their hands.
By the way,
I don't even think Hurts even threw the ball to Jahan Dotson, which is
well crazy. Because he's trash. Exactly. Yeah. And
I don't know why we didn't force him to have to make. I don't know why we didn't force him to have to make throws to Jahan Dotson and make throws to Johnny Wilson.
So let me say this: good defensive coordinators, good defensive minds. I can tell you with 100% certainty, this is exactly what they do. If you've ever heard Bill Belichick talk about football, about defense, every single game he went into, his goal was to take away what you did best and try to force you into what you did worst. Exactly. I mean, he's talked about it ad nauseum. You ever watched an interview with Bill Belichick talk about defense? This was his game plan. Every game, he tried to force you into doing what you do worst and taking away what you do best. That is simply by the way, this isn't football related. This applies to every sport that exists. That's what you do in basketball. What did Shane Battier say about guarding Kobe? He said, Kobe's good at everything, but this is what he does worst. So I'm going to force him into going left and shooting off the dribble. Shane Battier.
Mavericks with LeBron, they made him basically, you know, they clogged the middle of the lane and made him turn into a jump shooter. Yeah, like exactly. 100%. You're 100%.
It is literally just how playing defense in any sport works. Soccer included. It's just how it works. And so when it's just, bro, you can't even get the basic fundamentals down of taking away what the other team does best. And not to mention, now here's what I want to say. Let's look back, like let's just do a review of the season so far on the defensive side of the ball. And let's look at the impactful plays that have happened. And think about how many of them, because I was just doing that while we were talking, and I was like, how many of the impactful plays that have really benefited the defense have come from just an individual phenomenal play? Jared versus sacks, those weren't schemed up. Those were pretty much exclusively Jared versus dominating. Same with Braden. Now, the occasional stunt I'll give you, but that's what those guys do best. That
good stunt.
I don't even know that I would really call that that might not. Is that even called? Is that even a play call, or does Jared go to Braden and go, "Hey, let's stun it"? Like, I'm sure sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. To be honest, but
and even if it is a play call, it's nothing that brilliant.
No, it's like, just like you're gonna do it.
What a stunt is. So even if it is, it's like, you know.
But that's even the interceptions. Now, there's 2 kind of interceptions for us. It's the Jalen McCullough, the ball literally fell into your hands, which is not scheme related or play call related, or we've had some really nice plays like that. Like the Kobe Durant has had a couple interceptions this season that were really beautiful individual performances by him. Really, it's not been a schematic thing. It's not been like, have we had a play where, or we have like our D linemen tipping balls and then getting caught, right? But if we had a play, because it's happened against us, right, where the corner or the safety knew what play was being run, they fleshed it out and they just were there and took the ball away. Like for example, we had the interception where it was a screen to someone, maybe Kyron, and the guy tipped the ball up and it was picked off. But the defense knew that we were doing a screen to Kyron. Like it was clearly the defensive coordinator was reading the mail of the other guy and made it. Like how many plays, big plays that have been difference makers, even third down plays, red zone plays, where it was like, holy crap, that was the right scheme, the right play call. And or how many compared to how many was, okay, we have really talented players making really talented plays. Because for me, it's like 10-1. Our talent is making plays despite our play calling, despite the scheme, despite the game plan. Bro, and I really don't want to take a dump on him because he's been okay. But I think he's holding back the talent on defense. And that's crazy because I just talked about the weak spots on defense and how much they're hurting. But our talent is playing so darn good, man. The fearsome foursome, the safeties have been playing so much better lately. D Will and even Kobe's been a little bit better in the slot.
Corners aren't horrible, like at least two of our corners aren't horrible.
This defense should be way better. Like if we had the right DC in here, like if we just say we had Vic Fangio,
if we had
this defense would look way better. It would look way.
Are you kidding? Can you imagine Vic Fangio with this D line, bro? He would be because you know what Vic Fangio. First of all, he probably would have changed this to a 4-3 defense because you recognize the talent. You don't have a real nose tackle. You have Braden Fisk and Kobe Durant who both play D tackle. And then you have two guys who are capable of playing with her because Verse and now Young probably mostly has to stay stand up. He doesn't have the power to play with his hand in the dirt, but Verse does. Yeah. We've seen Verse play inside a lot this season, actually. So I think that he'd probably switch to a 4-3 and he would say, hey, I don't need to run more than 4 guys. Those guys are getting pressure to the quarterback all the time. He would rarely blitz. He would drop 7 into coverage. Dude, our defense would look so different. And we talked about it, right? We talked about what does our best defense look like? It looks like 4 down linemen or 4 rushing the passer. Omar Spates as your sole inside linebacker. Then you have 6 DBs. You playing in a dime. And you have 2 guys deep. 2 guys deep full time. By the way, the NFL this year, cover two zone is working really well at the NFL level this season. It's been the most successful base scheme against the pass. And we have Cam Curl and JJ3 will be coming back soon, who could both play that deep zone. And then you have 4 guys. Kinchins and and then you have, honestly, I would have put Curl in the mid zone right next to, so you got two mid zones, one with Space, one with Curl, and then you have your 2 corners on the out. Dude, I'm telling you, we would be so much better. And I know Vic Fangio would play like that because that's his style, and he would have us being locked down. And so, long story short, Shula's not it.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Bro, with the I know we talk about it a lot, and it's sort of beating a dead horse, but can we please stop it with the Michael Hoyt hybrid linebacker, half edge, half linebacker thing he does?
And middle linebacker too.
Like, what is he doing? Like, he's like 6'6". He's slow footed. He's uncoordinated. He's 300 pounds. Why is he playing a hybrid position?
I have seen him.
It's awful.
He doesn't make any plays doing it. Like I've never seen him make a play.
Like, he made one. He made one. What it was last week? He made one where he had a pass deflection. He was playing slot corner. But we've seen him at slot corner, outside corner, inside linebacker, inside defensive line, edge. We've seen him at every position on the field except for safety.
Yeah, Shula probably saw that one pass deflection and was like, "Oh yeah, baby, we're scheming it up right now."
They play him like Jabril Peppers on the Patriots.
It's actually
they play him like it's stupid. What is going on?
Ironically, you know who should be in that position? It should be Cam Curl.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Cam Curl is more of a hybrid type of player.
And they do put him in that spot a good amount. But
Hoyt has been playing.
Should never be in that.
It's like a pseudo star / D lineman.
Yeah. What?
It's
bro.
I'm sorry, but that's another strike again. you have to recognize who the talent on your team is, who deserves to be getting snaps, and who deserves to be where. And the reality is that Hoyt's talent maxes out as a backup edge rusher or a backup outside D lineman,
dude,
like 3 tech, 5 tech.
guys, I have the funniest quote, bro. During the game, I don't know if you remember, Chris Collinsworth said that he talked to Sean McVay, right? And he said, and Sean McVay had went to Schuler and told him, man, the offense is struggling. We need to get more creative on defense, right?
Oh
And
God.
That was
More
Schuler's
and
creative.
answer.
like, and Schuler's answer was moving Michael Hoyt around more. That's how he made the defense more correct. Because Michael Hoyt did the linebacker thing with Raheem last year, but this year Michael Hoyt is literally everywhere now. He's all over the place,
I don't
and that's what
remember.
Chris Schuler came up with.
I don't remember who said it. It was in our Discord. I think it was either Seahawks or it was Bulldozer. But he said they're using Michael Hoyt like a Swiss Army knife, and he's a butter knife.
Yeah.
And,
That's a
yeah,
good.
no, I
That's a
think I
good.
said that. That
Oh,
was
it
I
was
had
you?
said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, they use him.
That's
He's
a good
butter
analogy.
knife. Why are you using him as a Swiss Army knife?
He doesn't
Yeah.
deserve to be. Anyways, bad play calling. I would limit the
Yeah.
snaps for Bobby Brown as well. I think, and Roseman to be. If Roseman doesn't have the green dot, why is he playing so many snaps? Like
Yeah.
realistically,
And
Quentin Lake
then
sucks too, though.
Braden Fisk had a season low 44% of snaps
Did he?
when he's just
Really?
playing. Yeah, I read that this morning on Rams Wire. 44% of the snaps, season low, and it's just
That's
like
crazy.
he's been playing better.
You know who had
understand.
our only sack?
I get what they were
Braden
trying to do.
Fisk.
Right, and it wasn't a cleanup sack. That was a beauty.
No, yeah, it was. Yeah. For
Dude,
sure.
It's
Braden is
I
him.
think I'm starting to
Yeah.
understand what it is with Braden. I think they don't think he's that good in the run game. So
But I don't know if that's
when
true.
we're
That he's
facing,
not though, because he's
I don't
It's
think
not
it is
true.
either.
he's pretty
But
strong at the point of attack.
Remember, they
Like,
think
I've
Bobby
been-
Brown
what
is
I've been
good in the run
noticing-
game.
No, matter of fact, not to put too much stock into one play, but I remember a play where I remember like at least 2 plays where he held up the guard like really strong at the point of attack, and then we were able
Oh
to
yeah,
get like a
against the Eagles.
like
That
a
was
no
against the Eagles.
gain.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like
I remember that play. Yeah,
I think he's pretty good in the run game. Like, so I don't know if it's that. I don't know.
I-
Maybe they just because he's so explosive and he's very like quick game oriented. Maybe they just want him to be like 100%. Like just endurance wise. Maybe they want him to be like so fresh every time
Yeah.
he gets in, because he plays so like aggressively and like all out and quick. But that's the only thing I can think. I'm trying to think of a reason because really there is no good explanation for
I
why he
mean,
doesn't play as much.
sort of like Ethan was saying earlier in the year. I think we're getting to the point to where we can just say like they're just flat out just making bad decisions.
Yeah.
Like they're just making bad personnel decisions. It might not be no excuse for it. They might just flat out be making bad personnel decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, let's be real, okay? We're 3 guys doing a podcast. We're fans.
Yeah.
We're probably more informed than the most fans. We watch a lot of film together. But we're just fans watching it. We're guys making a podcast together.
Exactly.
We, for the most part, we saw the Kyron Williams regression coming.
Yeah.
And we've seen every time Blake Corum gets touches, he's playing well. He's actually been better in pass pro than Kyron has. And he's been better in the receiving game than Kyron has. And he's been better running the football than Kyron has. And we see Jordan Whittington in his only snaps being more productive than D-Rob and Tutu and Tyler Johnson. We knew for a fact that Bo Loomer was going to outplay Jonah Jackson. Like, we saw that coming. We've seen Tyler Davis outplay Bobby Brown. And we've seen that we're better with both of them off the field, to be honest. We saw the Spates and Reader situation. We saw the Roseman thing. We've seen Quentin Lake thing. Every time that our theories and ideas have been tested this season as far as personnel decisions have gone, we've been proven correct. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. And that's not even like to pat ourselves on the
No,
back.
no, it's not.
It's just like if
It
we
wasn't
can
even that
see
hard to
it,
see. It was
then why
common
can't the
sense.
coaching staff see it? And I think I'm not to like I think that's
No, it's exactly the
part of
point
what
I'm
we're-
making.
Yeah,
It's exactly
yeah,
the point
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
making.
Yeah.
If 3 regular dudes making a podcast have been able to see these things well in advance, why does the coaching staff not see it? And that's
Right.
concerning to me. Obviously, I'm never going to count out Sean because Sean continues to evolve every season and become a better coach. But this is definitely something he's done wrong, and I genuinely think it sends a bad message about the culture of the culture of the franchise that he's created. Like, he made this culture of high accountability, of high standards, and like, you can't let Kyron play like trash week in and week out, fumble the ball, turn it over, and then just keep giving him 90% of the snaps. That just isn't accountability. It's not high standards. It's just not. And I know I could tell you for a fact, Bill Belichick's not doing this. Nick Saban's not doing this. Like, name any great football coach in history, they're not doing that. They're holding guys accountable. You freaking you play badly, you get benched, man. That's just how it works. But apparently it doesn't work that way here. Troy Reader would have never gotten benched unless he got injured. Like, that's the only one we've seen, and it was positive. It's just frustrating. And the defense as a whole was a loser. There was no one besides Verse had a couple of nice pressures. Fisk had a few nice pressures. I thought Kobe had his worst game of the season. I thought Byron Young had his worst game of the season. I thought both inside linebackers were literally invisible. Both safeties didn't do it. The only two guys that I was like decent game was Braden Fisk and Verse. And Verse didn't really even do anything like he results wise, but he was obviously mauling two of the best tackles in football.
I'll say this really quick about Byron Young and Jared Verse. I'm cool with how they played, but contain was an issue all night. And there was a few back-breaking, like third down Jalen Hurts runs where it was simply just you're not containing him. And even Verse, who I love how he played, man. Like he's an ass kicker and all that. But even on some of those plays, like if you look at the Jordan Mailata play where he throws Mailata on his ass, okay, cool. But then Jalen Hurts just runs around you because you didn't take a good angle. So it's like cool play, highlight play, but like fundamentally, man, just contain. Keep the edge. That's something he's going to learn. And honestly, you got to put it on Shula too, right? Like that's coaching. Like you don't run straight at the quarterback. You gotta contain him when you're playing against a guy like Jalen Hurts. So that was another issue for me too. And it's just too late in the season to be doing this when you've already gotten burned by Kyler Murray doing it. Like it's just fundamentals. It's basic stuff, and we're still it's still not showing up on tape. So
yeah, man, it's all bad. It's coaching right now.
Well,
it's all bad.
Yeah, it is. Let's bring it up a little bit. Let's talk about stock ups. That might be hard for some aspects.
Oh yeah, baby.
Stock up offense. Who wants to get this started?
I'll go ahead and go first. My stock up on offense, I'll go Kevin Dotson.
Cool.
I was thinking about going Puka, but my stock on Puka is already through the roof.
Yeah.
So I want to go Kevin Dotson because he started off pretty slow, and we knew it was sort of his injury. And I think during the last few games, like we just read that tweet, he's been one of the best guards in football. And I've been seeing it on film. It's been popping out. He's been moving guys out the way. I seen on one play during the game, we were running the ball, and his helmet fell off on one play. And so I rewinded it, rewatched it. His helmet fell off because Jalen Carter was grabbing on for dear life, and Kevin Dotson had threw him to the ground, and Jalen was trying to grab on, and then he ripped his helmet off. And that's just showing that Kevin Dotson, he's getting healthy, and when he's healthy, bro, he's a tank.
That's a great stock up. He's probably at this point in our season our best offensive lineman of the year. He's been a stud. Even with the injuries, he's just been a stud. Okay. Will, you ready for your stock up?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's hard to pick one after a game like this. Kevin Dotson was definitely a good one. And I'm not trying to be like make light of a dark situation, but I'm honestly just giving my honest answer is that I'm going to say Jordan Whittington, because if I was buying a stock, I would, you want to buy low, right?
Yeah.
And I think this guy's stock is about to go up if, Demarcus Robinson got in trouble. And I think McVay made a comment.
And he's been bad. He's been.
That's a less.
That's kind of the thing about D-Rob that we mentioned is that like even as a third receiver, D-Rob is basically going to have like one good game every like 5 games.
Yeah, but the thing about that is because I totally agree with you that D-Rob has been good, but that's not stopping Sean McVay, right? That's something I know we all agree on. It's like
Agreed.
Like I think Jordan Whittington is just better than DeMarcus Robinson. I mean, I know it's a small. We haven't really gotten to see Jordan Whittington, but
I don't have any doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like earlier in the season when Puka and Cooper were out and DeMarcus Robinson, again, small sample size, but there was a couple, like 6 catch, 7, whatever, 6, 7 catch games. Like I think he showed like, even in that small sample size that he has a pretty high ceiling. I mean, as far as like a wide receiver 3, I think he has a high ceiling. And anyway, D-Rob got in some trouble. game status uncertain. I would buy a little bit of stock in a little bit more stock in Jordan Whittington right now.
Because everyone else was not very good, and I'm not going to go with the Puka Cooper Cup easy thing. I'm going to
Yeah.
go. I'm going to go Blake Corum because not because Sean's going to give him playing time because that's probably never going to happen, but because whenever he does get playing time, whether it's from a Kyron injury or from a situation, the bar is so low for him right now. Like, don't fumble, every game and get more than 4 yards per touch. Like, it's literally bottom of the barrel. Corum, whenever he does get a chance, and at some point, whether it's this year from injury or next year or the year after, he's gonna look like a totally different back compared to what we've seen with Kyron. I know that's a cop out, but let's be real, there just wasn't that many good players on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's a hard week for stock up. That's for
but
sure.
like when you watched garbage for what 10 weeks in a row now, 11 weeks in a row now, it's like Corum, whenever he gets touches, cannot look worse. So
yeah,
it's a weak one, but it's all right. Stock up defense. I am going to go Braden Fisk, and I'll tell you why I'm going. This is going to be a hard one for you guys as well. I took probably the best option. I'll tell you why Braden Fisk, because throughout the season, it's been like, oh, Jared Verse, Defensive Player of the Year, best rookie in the draft on defense, blah, 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 blah. And it's not been wrong. We've been talking about him as a top 5 edge rusher, but like Braden Fisk is making a legit run for that Defensive Rookie of the Year award, man. Like,
how many sacks does he have? What is it? Like 5.5?
6? Like he got like 6.
Let me pull it up, but I think it's 6. And so the crazy thing is
yep, 6. Yeah,
he's got 6 sacks. He has 2 forced fumbles. He has 33 combined tackles for a defensive lineman. That's a lot of tackles. And then he has 8 tackles for loss. Like, dude is playing out of his mind. And I want to remind you guys that he's basically played less than 60% of the snaps this season.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
he's putting
Go
together.
figure, man. Go figure.
We went from like, okay, we have 1 generational talent to like, I'm pretty sure we have 2 generational talents on the D line right now. And I think Kobe is, I won't call Kobe generational, but I would say he's
really good.
He might be a potential. I have a ceiling a little lower. Like, I think Fisk and Verse are all pro material, and I think Kobe and Young are Pro Bowl material. I don't know if Young ever gets a Pro Bowl, but he's like
Kobe's better than Young. Like for me, he's like a notch above Young.
I don't think Young ever gets a Pro Bowl simply because he's not a high volume statistical player. He's more just like solid.
I think he's gonna be like a Leonard Floyd type, where he's
plus
super solid.
2.0. Yeah, I think. But
Leonard Floyd 2.0. Yeah,
Kobe has the chance to be like a kind of a Fletcher Cox kind of a guy. Maybe get a couple seasons with like 12 to 15 sacks and be an elite run stuffer like Geno Atkins. Remember him back in the day on the Bengals?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Geno Atkins is a great comparison. Like Geno Atkins.
So it's not Hall of Fame level and it's not all pro level, but it's just like a small notch beneath that. That's where I see Kobe at. But I think Fisk and Verse both have all pro, potentially Hall of Fame careers ahead of them. And so I'm raising Fisk to that all pro level now because what he's doing in his rookie season, he's only going to get better, is pretty sick. And what these guys side by side, by the way, we never seen this before. We never, even with AD here, we never had an all pro, Hall of Fame quality talent. You could obviously say Von Miller, but that was for half a season and Von wasn't fully healthy and acclimated to the defense. Yep. We never really seen it to this level ever, I don't think, with the Rams. And so this could be special. Like this is like Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt kind of like mix.
Yeah.
And maybe even cooler than that because they play side by side. Oftentimes Hayward and TJ played on opposite sides. And our guys play off each other and have a lot of experiences together. So like it could even be more interesting because of those kind of facets, but it's that level of talent, which is crazy to say, but it's that Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt level of duo that we have here.
Yeah.
That might be disrespectful to some Steelers fans. We're just predicting that both guys are going to be all pro players. We're saying your guys are Hall of Famers and we think these two guys might also be Hall of Famers. Yeah. It's a compliment.
It's respect, yeah.
Will, do you have a player?
All right. I guess mine is Braden Fisk also.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously, I don't want to be redundant. Like Ethan just said a lot of it, but I think I've stocked Braden Fisk up maybe like once or twice. And for me, it's just like, at first, it's like, okay, now I feel like we made the right pick. Like, trading up a second rounder for him,
Yeah.
getting him in the second round. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, this guy is like actually like a star. And now my stock up is like exactly like Ethan said, like this guy might be like have like an all pro future, like superstar future. The potential is crazy. He might have double digit sacks
That's a
as a
rookie.
rookie, playing D tackle, only playing like 60% of the snaps.
Next to Bobby Brown, because that is a big factor.
Next to a very bad, Bobby Brown does not command double teams
Yeah.
or anything like that. So yeah, man, that's basically it. This guy's looking like he could be a superstar. So that's my
I
stock
don't
up.
think people realize real quick how rare and incredible and difficult it is for a. I mean, remember last year when Kobe got 10 sacks in his rookie season? People were like,
Mm-hmm.
"This never
Yeah,
happens ever for a D
Yeah.
tackle." And now, not only
We're
is
gonna have
Fisk,
another one might do it.
we're gonna have another
yep.
one. No, another one's gonna do it.
Yeah.
And
And
Yeah.
he's a better. And I love Kobe Turner. He's like, to me, he's
yes,
like a considerably better pass rusher than Kobe Turner. And I mean,
Yeah.
I
that's probably
agree.
saying the obvious, but like he's different, man.
But
Like,
here's where I want to end the Braden Fist stuff, unless you want to add on to it, Joe. But the thing about Braden that is amazing, and that like why would we be going stock up right now, is that he's been tearing apart everyone all season long, basically after like the first game maybe where he struggled a little bit. But you got to remember he's doing this week. He did it against 2-3 all pro players. Like
yeah,
he's
against a
not
great,
just
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it against guys. He's now
Mm-hmm.
doing it against the best guys in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Aaron Donald used to do. And again, I don't want to get hasty with the comparisons, but Aaron Donald used to tear off all pro offensive linemen to shreds. And Fisk is doing that. Fisk did that. He's doing it all season, but man, seeing him do it against the Eagles, I was a little worried because I knew he'd get a lot of double teams. I knew how talented they were. And so I was worried, but he really was the best player on defense yesterday.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
So me, I agree with you guys on Brady Fisk. I don't have a stock up, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because one thing that disappointed me a lot is when you have a player, even though Saquon Barkley's amazing, but he had 300 all-purpose yards and he had a touchdown.
Yeah,
I think he maybe had two touchdowns, touchdowns or two,
unbelievable, man.
one of those. And to me, we had some good players. Players played good. Brady Fisk had moments. Jared Verse had moments. But as a team, as a collective, you can't give up 300 all-purpose yards and a touchdown to anybody really. I'm sorry. And you want to and you shouldn't get praise for that in my opinion. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I feel that.
All right,
Okay.
let's move on to stock down. Now, this is a much more robust discussion this week.
On
Uh,
offense,
yeah. Why don't you lead us
yeah,
off, Joe?
okay. Yeah, my stock down on offense is I thought about it for a minute, but I'm gonna say Sean McVay. I'm a
Okay.
big Sean McVay guy, like you guys know. I love Sean McVay. I think he's an amazing coach. One of the best coaches in football, top five probably. But I'm going to take him stock down this week because I think we had an issue with. To me, it wasn't even the play calling. To me, the play calling wasn't that awful for me. It didn't stick out as super awful. But the one thing that stuck out super awful for me this game was, we've been harping on it, the player personnel issues on both sides of the ball, specifically offense. I think against the Eagles, it was just plain out awful. Like Kyron fumbled two times. He's not supposed to see the field for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I know we can say, well, he's a RB1. He maybe could split it. No, in that specific game, Kyron Williams shouldn't have touched the field after those two fumbles. It should have been Blake Corum, and then I think Ronnie Rivers might have been activated. So Ronnie Rivers could just came in and ran. It's not the fun thing to do, but to me, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep letting Kyron, because he's not getting better at not fumbling. So he's not learning the
Right.
lesson. He's not
Right.
learning the lessons. He's not learning what he should do.
Yeah.
So it should be a game like that. Second half, you should sit him and let him know, Kyron, if you're not going to be better, you're going to get less and less snaps, and the rookie's going to come in that's been better than you. He's going to come in and take your spot. I don't think Kyron's scared of that because he hasn't been getting better. He doesn't have the fear of being set and letting the rookie take his spot. And I think that's just on Sean McVay, and he has to get better. That's
By
why
the way,
I'm gonna stock down this week.
that sends a message to the whole team. Like if the
Yeah,
quote unquote all pro running back can be benched for bad performances, then anyone can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. My stock down on offense, I'm gonna go with my same trio because it just needs to be done. Is Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams. Big game, big opportunities, big moment, and all three didn't come to play. And it's that simple. When you got to rely on these guys to do what they got to do to win us games, they continually seem to be falling short unless it's against pretty mediocre bad teams. And it's just not been good enough from that trio all season long. Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame quarterback, all pro running back, and they look like none of those things this season.
Yeah. Mine is just super straightforward. Warren McClendon. I think I was a little bit more confident in that guy than I should be. He didn't have a good game. He got his lunch ate, and I want Rob Havenstein back ASAP, and that's it.
Yeah. Sean said that Rob is trending in the right direction to play against New Orleans. So,
all right, stock down defense. Who wants to get us started?
Mine is the whole defense. As y'all can see, I've been that was like the worst. I'm sorry. Like, I love the guys out there, bro. But the whole defense, to me, the way they gave up all those yards. And to me, the most pitiful one was as soon as the half started, it was like in the first couple plays, Saquon gets like a 60-yard run and he wasn't touched. I don't think he made one little move and he ran 60 yards and wasn't touched, bro. And to me, that was just they just smoked the defense, bro. They were throwing him around. I was watching clips of Kobe getting thrown around. Bobby Brown was randomly just on the ground. He's every play he's supposed to be in the middle. He's almost on the sidelines getting blocked somewhere. He's just so bad, and it was just an awful performance from the defense. So to me, all of them get a stock down, man.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the way that I, interpreted that or made my stock down is I gave it to Chris Shula, because when you're saying it's the whole defense,
there you go.
To me, I have Chris Shula, and I mean we've already said so much about him.
We've been over that
But,
one.
so I'll just end it by saying, and kick it to you, Ethan, by saying, Chris Shula, please show me a game plan where you look like you know the opponent you're playing.
Yep.
Instead of just running like this vanilla thing where you just default to the same defense every game, show me that you understand the matchups with the opponent. Like, take advantage, again, like Ethan said earlier, make them play left-handed, take away their strength.
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's not like a opponent-specific game plan.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That's what it doesn't seem like. Anyways, go ahead.
I was going to give Chris Shula as my honorable mention, but since that one is done now, I'm going to give my honorable mention to Hoyt because that dude played a lot of snaps. In fact, I kind of want to see exactly how many snaps he played.
It was awful on almost every snap.
Awful. And I will say that Shula put him in some bad positions, but beyond that, he was awful some more.
There's no good position to put him into.
Hoyt played 60% of snaps. So Hoyt's my honorable mention because the guy who deserves to be at the top of this list is a player whose primary job is to tackle the running back and to stop the run, and who I believe got stiff-armed 3 times by Saquon Barkley yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be memes made about that guy getting stiff-armed into oblivion. Christian Rosewoom played awful in the pass game. He played awful against the run. He got washed out by tight ends, running backs, receivers. I mean, it was a legendarily bad performance by Christian Rosewoom. And I want to see this guy off the team, like, altogether. He's just not an NFL level player.
You're not Clay Matthews, bro. Cut the hair, bro. Cut the hair off. You're not Clay Matthews.
Yeah, for sure.
Sick of
You know what he needs? You know what he needs to do? He needs to go to the barber and say, I want to look like this guy while holding up a photo of Troy Reader, because that's who he's most like.
Yes. Yeah. He plays, bro.
Absolutely.
Bro, we had Troy Reader and Christian Roseboom playing actual meaningful, almost 100% of the snaps.
100% of the snaps, all the games they played together, I think. Both of them did. It was crazy.
And you think you could tell me that that's not
the personnel decisions are
malpractice? Yeah, like come on,
my
dude.
gosh.
Like, that's disgusting.
By the way, that's both on McVay and Les Snead for not caring.
It's on the whole team. Yeah. The front office too, because why are Troy Reader and Roseman even on the team in the first
Stan
place?
Kroenke
That's
too.
front office stuff too. Like, what are you doing, bro?
All right. That's enough beating down this game. It sucks. Let's go ahead and start talking about next week's game. Playing the Saints. This should be a much more winnable game, but who knows? Like, legitimately, who knows with us? We don't know what to expect from the Rams these days. We barely beat the Patriots, if we're being honest about it. We barely beat the Patriots. So
yeah, I mean the Saints aren't bad too.
No.
They've their last game they blew out the Browns, who are their record isn't good, but like defense is talented.
One thing I will say though,
They beat the Falcons the week before, so
They're
they're not horrible.
one thing I will say is I guess it's a good thing for us, just to make the mood a little better. They have probably one of the worst passing defenses in football. Their secondary is awful.
Yeah.
The Saints?
Yeah, their
Yeah.
secondary
Is
is
it
awful.
that bad? They have talent.
Yeah, I think he's right. I saw this too. It was like
Their
30th or
secondary.
31st.
Yeah, their
Yeah, yeah,
secondary
yeah.
is bad.
Let me pull it up real quick. Let's take a look.
Also, Chris Olave is not going to play.
We'll,
he's not playing.
we'll look at it when we get to that side of the ball. Let's go
Yeah,
ahead
we
and
got it.
let's
Yeah.
go ahead and get started with the offense versus defense. What do we got going on here? Rams are healthy, and it looks like Rob Havenstein will be back, so we have an entirely healthy offense.
Yeah.
No question marks. That is great news for
That's
us.
a positive.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with D-Rob.
Yeah. And then defensively, they're pretty healthy. They have a lot of talent in that secondary, so I'm surprised they're not playing very well. Although it looks like
Lattimore got traded, which most everyone
that's right.
I forgot about
who did he get traded to?
Washington.
Commanders.
Oh,
he hasn't played.
Yeah.
He hasn't played yet though.
Yeah.
So without him, I guess they have Tyrann Mathieu and Coolin McKinstry. The rest of these guys are kind of just there.
Yeah.
They have a great. I mean, this is where I get concerned. They have a great duo of inside linebackers with Demario Davis and Willie Gay Jr. And then their D line isn't bad. Carl Granderson's been playing out of this world. Brian Breesy's actually had a heck of a season too. I don't know if you guys seen that, but he has like 5 or 6 sacks.
Really?
Yeah, I want to say. Let's take a look real quick. I want to say Breesy has had 5 or 6. So Granderson has 4.5. Yeah, Breesy's right here. You can't see it. Let me click on his profile here. Oh, Breesy has 5.5 sacks this season already.
Okay.
So Breesy's been improving quite a bit. They're not a bad defense. It looks like the secondary is pretty piss poor, especially with Lattimore gone. So let's take a look at that though. Let's take a look at their defense, particularly where they rank. The defense is the bottom row here, and they are ranking versus the rush. They are pretty bad, despite that talent. So 25th in yards, 31st in yards per attempt, and then against the pass, they're 30th in yards allowed, but they're only 5th. They're actually 5th in touchdowns allowed, and they're 5th in total interceptions. So they're actually not that bad on against the pass. I mean,
I guess they're like bend don't break.
They've got more interceptions than touchdowns allowed. That's pretty impressive, to be honest. So overall, they're the 20th ranked defense, and you can't see it. They're 31st in yards allowed, but 20th in points allowed. You can't see it right there. So that's interesting. I'm going to be real. I don't have any confidence in winning any of the games remaining on our schedule. Not that I'm saying we won't win any more games. I'm just saying I'm not confident that we will win any of them remaining.
You know what?
If we lost this game, I wouldn't be surprised. Would you guys be surprised?
No, because I'm pretty sure that we do win the game, but I could obviously see a easy world to where we lose. I mean, especially in New Orleans too. I could see where we lose.
We're only 1 game difference with them right now. They're 4-7. We're 5-6.
They're not a bad team. I mean, they were missing Derek Carr for a few games. Obviously, when you're missing your starting QB, you're
By the way, I think they lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're not bad. And it's in New Orleans. New Orleans is a tough place to play. I mean, yeah, I'm expecting the Rams to win, but it's not like Rams should. It's not like a should win. The Rams should just win this game automatically.
Derek Carr's 4-4 this season. By the way, to your point.
Yeah, I mean, we're not playing consistently enough to have any game be like, oh well, the Rams should just win this game.
I'll tell you one reason we could lose it. You know what? Are you guys done with offense versus defense? Because I want to switch it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So let's switch it to defense versus offense. And I have an important point I want to make here about that. So our defense is healthy. JJ3 is not coming back, right?
Is he?
No.
I think
he might. I think he might play because I think he's practicing. He's practicing this week, I think.
I want to see him on the field, but I don't want him taking snaps from Cam Kinchins. I'd rather him take snaps from Quentin Lake. So, but that's not gonna happen because he's the green dot. So it's gonna be we'll have to see how that plays out. And then on offense, they actually have a pretty darn talented offense. Now is Shaheed out? Is Shaheed out?
I don't know about Shaheed.
I don't think Shaheed played in weeks. I don't think he's played in a while.
Oh, he's injured. Let's see. I'm taking a look right now.
He is definitely a X factor for sure.
I think Shahid is out. I don't see anything about him being healthy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
he
think you're
hasn't
right.
he
He's
hasn't
out.
played since the 13th. He might be back. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know the severity of his injury. But
Yeah, I see left meniscus injury on November 19th,
oh,
which
was
is
that
like
an
a week.
ACL or just an MCL? Oh, it was an MCL probably.
He's out. It
Okay.
looks like he's gonna be out.
Oh
So,
no, he had surgery.
but
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's out.
MCL.
He's
out.
out for the
He's out.
season.
No,
He's
no, no,
out for the
no.
season.
MCL
Yeah.
surgery is not a season-ending surgery.
Yeah,
No,
but
he
it
no,
said like
it said
4
it right
months or
here.
something.
Yeah, Ian Rappaport reported that he's out for the season.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So he's out. Olave's out. That's just big.
Honestly, Marquez Valdez Scantling's not a bad. He's been actually dominating lately. Have you guys seen? He's actually been putting up crazy yards. The one area of concern that I have, because Shula seems to be brain dead to the opponent that he's playing,
Right.
and this is an X factor. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. Is Taysom Hill?
Yeah, Taysom Hill
To
is
be
the
honest,
definition of an X
Bro,
factor.
do
He's
you know
literally
what?
a walking X factor.
Last game, Taysom Hill he had like
He went off.
145 yards and like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, he
he
went off.
dominated. I had him on the bench, and he had like 40 fantasy points.
It's kind of dumb how you can put him as a tight end in
Bro,
fantasy.
and
It's
dude,
like totally
and
not fair.
Taysom Hill, bro,
He's just not a tight end.
he's like 35 years old or something crazy like
So
that.
Rashid Shaheed's out. I want to see this though. I want to see. So like, look, it's hard to see. Derek Carr though has been good. 13 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's been solid. Kamara's having a revitalized season. 782 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he's dude. He has over what 1,200 yards for the season, all purpose yards. So Kamara's doing great. In fact, you can't see the scrimmage yards, but yeah, he's got 1,225 and 7 touchdowns, 5.1 yards a touch. That's solid.
Dude, no, the Saints are a scary team to be honest. Like they've had a few games this season where they just come out and absolutely steamroll. Like they steamrolled the Browns, they steamrolled the
look at
Cowboys
these
when
two
they were
games.
healthy.
This is MVS, 109 yards and 87 yards in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
He's a deep ball threat, and Carr's connecting with him. This is, and to be honest, Taysom Hill could wreck us. Like, I'm just being real because he has.
I'm not gonna lie, bro.
He has 268 yards receiving, and he has 150 receiving, and he has some passing yards. And we're talking about you got a game plan for him, and it doesn't look like we game plan for anyone. We didn't game plan for Saquon. Why would we game plan for Taysom Hill?
Right. After that game we just saw against the Eagles, I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure, but I hope the Rams come out against the Saints and we see some different stuff, bro, or something.
Yeah.
Because if Taysom Hill smokes us, bro, he's good and all, but bro, he's like 35, and I'm not gonna be able to take that one, bro.
Yeah.
So the other thing they do have is some decent tight ends. Jawan Johnson is decent. Obviously Taysom Hill. Yeah, I'm not super confident. Let's move on to key matchups. Who wants to start key matchups?
I'll just go real quick. My key matchup is the Saints running game. We just mentioned Taysom Hill, how they use him as like gadget guy. Nava Kamara receiving and running the ball. Just the running game versus our defense versus our linebackers versus our defensive line. Do they have pride? Like they got smoked. They got smoked against the Eagles. And like Kobe said that they had a bad game, but they got to forget about it. And next week they got to come out and do what they got to do. So it's about them. Can they stand up, have some pride, and go against New Orleans, go in New Orleans and stop the run? That's what I want to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will?
This is like a borderline. Is it key to victory? Is it key matchup? But I'll say, Ethan, I thought it was interesting that when you brought up the stats, like they allow a lot of yards, but they don't allow a lot of points.
Yeah.
And they do turn the ball over and things like that. So I'm gonna say key matchup is our red zone offense versus their red zone defense.
That's fair.
We gotta punch it in.
I am going to go pretty vanilla here, but I am going to say the trenches is the key matchups because they have some good old linemen like Cesar Ruiz and some other guys. They have some good D linemen, Carl Granderson. Chase Young is lazy but talented. They have Brian Breesy, who's got 5.5 sacks. Most games come down to the trenches, so I'm comfortable saying that's going to be a key matchup this game. You know what? I'm going to switch it up. I just thought of a better key matchup that I think needs to be talked about, and that is um, how we play the run and the tight end game. Because we talked about their talented tight ends, Taysom Hill, Jawan Johnson, two decent tight ends who can do a lot of different things. And Alvin Kamara's having a career resurgent season. Really, really talented. He's a top 10 back easily this season. And the guys that we've been putting against it, because remember, Alvin Kamara is probably one of the best receiving backs in the NFL. So we're talking about who's going to be guarding those guys. And so far this season, it's been Christian Roseboom and it's been Michael Hoyt a lot. So it's not so much about the key matchup being them versus, Roseboom and Hoyt versus Kamara, Jawan Johnson, and Taysom Hill. It's more a matchup of, is Chris Shula going to be smart enough to realize he needs to put more competent people on those great players? If you try to defend Taysom Hill with Michael Hoyt, you are going to get your ass beat. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
So I guess my key matchup is Chris Shula versus the offensive coordinator of the, I don't even know who that is. Who is their offensive coordinator? I mean, look, it is Clint Kubiak, son of older Kubiak. It's the son.
Gary.
Yeah. Okay, so those are all fair, and let's move on to keys to victory. I'm going to start us off here because I have a hot take, and I think it's an important one. I don't think it's going to happen, which is why I think there's a possibility we may lose. But our O-line is starting to gel. They're starting this starting unit is starting to gel really well. I know it wasn't the best game ever against the Eagles. We talked about the game plan issues. We talked about the play calling issues, but these guys are talented, and they were playing against one of the best D lines in football.
Yeah, and McClendon was the big issue.
Yeah,
so
and
I
Hayden
think
side's really back.
To your point, if McClendon wasn't in the game, it might have looked a lot better.
This should be the best O-line performance of the season for us. I truly think that it should be. And having said that, Kyron doesn't take advantage of great O-line performances anymore, not like he was last season. So I think one of the keys to victory for me is an increase, like a somewhat increased workload for Blake Corum. I think if Blake Corum gets 10 touches this game, it could be the difference between a win and a loss. And I'm dead. That's not Kyron hating. I'm dead serious because I think Corum is a ball mover, a chain mover. I think he gets us 5 to 6 yards per touch, and that's so much better than the floor we've been getting, especially on early downs. Think about 4, 5, 6 yards as opposed to 2 or 3 in first and second down. Think about the screen game being able to go off for 10, 15, 20 yards instead of usually -3. Like, there's a lot of factors there. I just think if we want to win any more games this season, it's vital that Blake Corum starts getting a larger share of the snaps and the touches on offense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let me wrap that up because I just want to wrap it up real quick. Is if Kyron Williams continues to play like he has and gets 90% of the snaps, I think we're cooked.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next. My key to victory is basically very similar to what y'all had for key matchups. Just super simple. Just limit Taysom and Alvin Kamara. I mean, look, they don't have Rashid Shaheed. They don't have Chris Olave. Their receivers aren't that scary.
No.
Like, to me, it's super straightforward. Like, if you can limit the run game, we're in great shape. If not, then we may be in trouble. So that's my key to victory.
What you're saying is we're going to be in trouble because
Probably
we were supposed to key in on AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley, and we didn't.
Right. Although, man, it's been weird because we've had games where our run defense showed up against, like, A-Chain and the Niners. It's just so we're just so inconsistent, though.
To be fair, A-Chain's been bad all season, though. He's been bad all season.
True. Yeah. I mean, okay, fair enough. But still, we've had games against decent backs like Minnesota, Green Bay, San Francisco. So, but we're just so inconsistent that I have no idea what to expect. So.
Yeah. The usual for me. I'm gonna say, just don't make Taysom Hill into a star. Last week he had 100. I'm looking right now. He had 188 all-purpose yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. Taysom Hill is not a star, but he had a star game last week against the Browns, and I have a feeling that after their performance, the Saints, especially if they watch our tape, the Saints are going to use him a lot. I feel like
probably.
So I think the keys to victory is don't make him to a star because he's been mid for the rest of the season. bring him back to reality, keep him, way under what he had last week, and I think we'll be able to pull this one out.
All right, boys, time for predictions. Who wants to go first?
I can go quick. It's been a sad, last week kind of has me in a down mood, but I think we bounced back against the Saints. Like you said, the offensive line's fully healthy. We're probably fully healthy on offense. I think we get a real good offensive game, probably like a Minnesota sort of offensive game. I think we get a real good offensive game. I'm gonna say we win. But uh, score is kind of tricky. I'm gonna say 17-27 Rams.
Okay. I definitely am gonna have a closer game than that. Yeah, they're tough. They're frisky. It's in New Orleans. I on the other hand, I do think McVay teams have a way of like bouncing back. Like typically we bounce back after bad losses. I'm gonna say, and I think we're gonna be energized by the fact that the division race is still so close. We're literally one game out. It's still there to be had.
Yeah,
So
NFL team, they're never gonna think they're out of it until they're out of it.
yeah, but I mean, especially when it's that tight. Like we're
Yeah,
literally one game out, and
yeah,
so anyway, all that to say is I do think it's going to be close, but I think we get it. But I'll say Rams 27, Saints 23.
yeah. That's a
Okay,
good score.
I'll be the contrarian. I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Saints 30, Rams 24,
Okay.
and that's just a matter
That's
of
it.
that's it. I just think
Yeah.
I think we're not going to focus on Taysom Hill, and we're not going to focus on Alvin Kamara, and I think MBS has shown throughout the years that he can be a solid deep ball threat, and Derek Carr's actually got a pretty nice deep ball. He doesn't do it often, but when he does, he's pretty accurate. And I think Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara just gore us up, and I think MVS gets one deep touchdown that really hurts
Okay.
us.
I think that'll if there's like a prop bet for that, like a Valdez Scantling anytime touchdown score, and the odds are like the payout's good. I would throw some money at that. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think
So
if you have any hope on the season, the Saints loss probably ends it
Yeah,
right there.
that would be the nail in the coffin. Yeah, if we lose to the Saints, my copium's gone. Like no matter what.
I'm just
Unless everyone else in the division loses this weekend, I guess.
I'm just looking at it in this way. Like the Saints just played a much better defense than us in Cleveland, and kind of whooped
and
up
went
on them.
off.
They went
Yeah,
off.
totally valid point.
And so they went off for what 35 points.
Yeah.
They beat the Falcons, who are
Yep.
arguably
Pretty
as
good.
good or better than us.
Pretty good. Yeah. Probably.
And they did really good on offense since Carr's been the starter. They've been very good on offense.
Yeah. Dude, they're pretty good. The Saints they're a pretty good team. They're not bad at all.
They got Tampa Bay dropped 51 on them. Denver dropped 33 on them. Chargers dropped 26, but all three of those games were Spencer Rattler starting.
Right.
And he was really bad.
One thing I will say is though, that Panthers game, I watched it. He was bad in that Panthers.
Derek Carr?
Derek Carr, he was.
Well,
bad
that should have been probably the key to victory for one of us, right? Because Derek Carr is basically the young Jared Goff. When he gets pressured, he's terrible. Yeah. So if we can get pressure, we're going to be fine We're going to be fine. But again, Kamara,
I feel good because we do get pressure, and we don't have to worry about like mobile.
If they're smart, they're going to. Sorry, go ahead and finish your point.
No, it's just we've struggled against mobile QBs with things like contain, but against more stationary QBs, we've done pretty well. So that was all.
I'm not sure if they're smart, but if they're smart, they're going to heavily utilize Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara, and I think
I'm sure
both of those guys are capable of gashing us for big chunks over and over and over again. And Derek Carr's pressure won't matter because it'll be handoffs, it'll be dump offs, it'll be screens, it'll be slants, it'll be quick stuff. Those guys are getting off. Because Taysom Hill is capable of catching a 5-yard slant and taking it for 80 yards. So
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's scary.
I should have said my key to victory is make Derek Carr. Well, I guess I basically did. But yeah, like to our point about like just taking away what they do best, like make Derek Carr be. I mean that pretty much.
We just haven't done it all season though.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Chris Shula hasn't shown me that. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. But
I'm kind of looking forward to the game because I want to see if they bounce back or not. That's sort of
Yeah,
an
I think they will. I
interesting
think they will.
thing for me to look at this week.
Let's spend a few more minutes talking about the team as a whole.
Sure.
It was a quicker than usual video, and I just we kind of talked this beforehand, and I want to kind of two sides of the coin, right, of what we have coming up. First, we'll hit the copium side, and this is the strength of schedule remaining for the division because we're still in the division race. San Francisco has the hardest schedule. In
And
fact,
they're just so banged up. I mean, is Purdy out for a while or
No,
what's the deal?
he's coming back.
he's
Okay.
coming back.
Yeah.
But Purdy has been bad
Yeah,
this
he's been
year.
bad too. Not as bad as Allen was, but Seattle second. We're third, and Arizona's last. Now Arizona's starting to falter. Call of Duty, Murray's starting to really show his colors.
Bro,
I knew you were gonna say that.
the Cardinals
Yeah.
played a bad game
Terrible.
in Seattle, bro.
Terrible.
They
Bad.
played a bad game
So
in Seattle.
theoretically,
Love
we're still in
Love
the
that.
division, right? So if you're full of copium still, you care about winning the division and getting blown out in the playoffs. There's still hope for you yet. Now on the flip side, we go to the tankathon side. Right now, we have locked up the 16th pick in the draft, and if we lose many more of these games, we could definitely be sneaking into the top 10. There's teams here who I wouldn't be surprised to see Cleveland start winning some games. I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans starts winning games on the stretch. Cincinnati's
going to win.
Dallas is awful, but if Dak comes back, they may win a few more games. Chicago, Caleb's starting to play better. Indianapolis, I mean, there's Miami's so there's teams. Tampa Bay, I would say there's a solid 10, 12 teams ahead of us in the draft right now who could win some games. If we start losing more, we could jump up and do a higher draft pick.
I'm not 100% there yet, but if you're a fan and you want to tank, I think the best position to be in, if you could slide in that top 12, then you're in a position you can trade up for a guy, or you're in a position to where you can get, because Genty might be in that 9 to 12 range.
You know who else might be in that range?
To get some good players.
You know who else might be in that range? Luther Burden.
Listen,
because look, Travis Hunter is going to go ahead of him, and then you have that guy from Arizona State. I forget his name, who's dominating this season. He's being Arizona State. Yeah, he's being projected as a top 5 pick. You also have the guy out of Ohio State, the receiver out of Ohio State. Is he eligible for the draft?
Actually, Emeka Ubeka, whatever his name.
Yeah. So there's a mock draft here, but there's let's see what we have. You do Tatoria, something like that. McMillan.
Yeah.
So he's in the top 5 now. You obviously have Travis Hunter up here. You have Shador and Cameron Ward and Will Kent. I would kill for any of these players. Will Johnson's a stud. But look, I'm telling you, Alshon Genty's going 10.
Yeah, he's going to be in that 9 to 12 range. Luther Burden might be in that 15 to 18 range.
Well, I don't
the
see
thing
Burden
about Luther Burden is he's right there above the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
See, and the thing about Luther Burden is he's having a mediocre season, not because of him, because if you're a Mizzou fan and you watch, Mizzou has an awful quarterback, one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC. He's disgustingly bad. And the offense has been bad. So Luther has been sliding because he's not having a crazy year like he had last year. So if the Rams are in that 14 to 16 range and Luther Burden's there, I would, even though a lot of guys may want a left tackle or running back, I would take Luther Burden because as a slot guy, and he can get over the top too. He's a really good receiver.
I'll tell you who I would love is this guy, the guy out of Arizona. It wasn't Arizona. I got his name wrong. I got his school wrong. Everything. But McMillan, have you seen him play at all?
He's a high catch radius guy. He's like an AJ Brownish type player.
Bro, he's 6'5" though.
Yeah, he's an AJ Brown type guy.
He's huge, 6'5". They have him at 210 pounds. I think he's bigger than that. He's a good, big-bodied receiver in the red zone, and he's a deep threat. It's like the two things we're really lacking, he's really good at. As far as fit is concerned, I think he's probably the best fit for us. Yeah. But obviously, Ashton Genty's in this area. Unfortunately, Will Johnson, who's the main good corner in this draft, isn't going to be there. Although I've been told by several people that I trust that Siobhan Ravel is incredible.
I've heard about him.
I've heard from people that they like him better than they like Will Johnson, which is some big praise.
And there's some guys. There's some guys from Kansas too. Some CBs.
Hey, Emeka
that people like.
Emeka Ugbuka is really freaking good too.
He's really good. Yeah.
So there's some options. The one thing you're not going to get in this draft I guess this Colston Loveland guy, but I'm not comfortable drafting a tight end early unless it's like a Brock Bowers type. He has to
No.
be a smoke your socks kind of
Yeah.
prospect, and I don't think
Mhm.
Colston Loveland is that. We haven't watched all the film yet, so we'll obviously change. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on the draft. I felt like it deserves to be touched on because we are headed that way if we lose one more game.
Yeah.
And it deserves to be talked about. It's like, okay, what kind of position could we be in next year? Because this year is looking to, from my perspective, to be over, and from your guys' perspective, like we're one loss out from being over, pretty much. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if we lose this game, then it's full blown.
for me,
Well,
it's
Yeah.
again,
over
unless
because we're not going to win a championship this year.
yeah, I know what you mean. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it
get it.
also depends how Arizona and Seattle do this weekend. But of all those, just real quick, of all those names, man, I just want to say, like, as far as Genty, I know some people say it's too high to take a running back, but we know with the Lions, like when they took Gibbs, it really paid off for them. And this team hasn't had a star running back since Todd Gurley.
It's just about
I
being smart. Like
mean,
taking a running back that early. Like look, Adrian Peterson, did he pay off? Yeah. Todd
yeah, yeah,
Gurley
Absolutely.
paid off. Jameer Gibbs paid off. Bijan Robinson
Saquon,
paid off. Saquon paid off.
yeah,
Like you got to wait for the generational guy, then you make
exactly.
the move. You don't just pick a running back top 10 because you need a running back. And
Yeah,
Genty is that. He is a generational guy.
yeah, and I would argue it is as big of a need as anything. I mean, we've been talking all year about how Kyron Williams isn't cutting it. Like I think it's up there. I mean, this offense with a generational running back like we saw in 2017, 2018, it just felt like we were just on cruise control. Like everything felt so much easier. It opened up the screen game, it opened up the play action, it opened up the pat, like just everything. Like everything was just so much easier for McVay. It would be
I
like if
believe
you're
in.
telling me like it's between Burden and Genty, like
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, someone like whatever, the best receiver on the board or Genty, like Genty all day for me.
I mean, I would take Travis Hunter or McMillan, but
Well, right, but I meant like realistically that would be.
like
I guess we'll see how you think,
let's just
but
end it.
Travis
Let's
Hunter's
end
gonna-
it like this, right? Is like I'm not against taking Genty. Personally, my preference is number one quarterback. I think whether you have Stafford for next year or not, quarterback is basically the top tier need. I would take Shador. I wouldn't take Cameron Ward. So I guess it just depends on how that goes. And then a receiver is less of a need to me than running back because we have Puka
Yeah,
and Cup. Although I wouldn't be mad if we took any of them. But for me, it's basically Will Campbell. So my number one pick would be Shador. Then it would be Will Campbell at left tackle. Then it would be Will Johnson at quarterback, unless the Siobhan Reveal guy blows my mind. So because we need a number one corner, we need a left tackle, we need a
yeah, we do
quarterback.
need a corner. We
Those
do
are
need a
their
corner.
top three needs. Now I'm also higher on Corum. I think Corum is a legitimate number one running back, and even though I don't think he's generational talent, with as good
Right.
of a run blocking team as we are, he's a 1,500 scrimmage yards, maybe 17, 1,800 scrimmage yards guy, which really he did at Michigan with pretty mediocre offensive line play.
Yeah,
So he's not generational. I'm not going to put him in that category, but he could be
yeah,
a top 5, top 10 back with a good enough scheme and run blocking.
yeah.
And if you have that already on your team, I'd rather shore up left tackle, corner, and
That makes
quarterback.
sense.
But I
That
understand
makes
your point because having a generational running back transforms your offense, and I don't think there's a
yeah,
debate for that. And I do not
Yeah.
think Corum is a generational running back.
right, right. Just really quick, like 15
Sure,
second deviation from this. Travis Hunter, do y'all think he's gonna actually play? Do you guys think he's gonna start both ways in the
I
NFL?
do. Yeah,
That's just that's
Yeah.
so crazy,
I
man.
think. I mean, I think he's going to play both sides. It's not going to be because in college football, it's almost 50-50. I don't think it's going to
Yeah,
be a 50-50 type thing, but I think he's going to play both sides.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you a couple things about it. Why I believe so. Number one, he's got the attitude of a guy who is going to try to do it. It's also a new day and age. It's been done before, first of all, by guys who were far less talented than
yeah,
him. He's actually all pro quality at both spots from what I've seen. It's actually insane. Um,
yeah. It
so
really is. This
it's
guy's
been
so
done by
special.
guys who aren't nearly as talented as he was coming out of the draft. He's just got that super, I wouldn't say ego, but confidence. Like he believes he can do them both. And I think that there's going to be, I think Dion wants him to as well, because I think Dion wanted to do that more in his pro career. And I think Dion's going to push whatever teams are interested in drafting him. Like, hey, Travis wants to play both ways. So if you're going to draft him, you better be ready to play him both ways. I think Travis kind of has this feel of a guy who kind of wants to shock the world and like change football.
Yeah,
I really think that's the
I
kind of
agree.
person he is. And I would
I
let
agree.
him, to be honest, I would let him. We just saw Shohei Ohtani be basically Cy Young and an MVP, Silver Slugger. Why not football? Why not? I know it's a big demand on the body, but you got a top tier athlete who's elite at both. Give him a chance.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We appreciate you joining us. Please like, comment, subscribe on the video. Let us know what you thought. We'll be back after next week's game against the Cardinal or the Saints for another episode. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Happy holidays, guys.
Later, boys.